All right, so we're going to be looking at radicals. We need to be able to simplify our radicals. And by doing that, we can find the largest perfect square. We can square root the perfect square and write it outside the radical, and then multiply and divide inside and outside of the radical. So we're going to start with our perfect squares. So our first perfect square is 4. And we get 4 by multiplying 2 times 2. Our next perfect square is 9. And we get that by multiplying 3 times 3. Then we have 16 by multiplying 4 times 4, 25, 5 times 5, 36, 6 times 6, 49, 7 times 7, 64, 8 times 8, 81, 9 times 9, 100, 10 times 10, 121, 11 times 11. So from our perfect squares, we can do the opposite. The opposite is what gives us our radicals. And it's basically doing the square root. So our first square root, we get the square root of 4, which gives us 2. So 4, we get 2 times 2. So the square root of 4 is 2. Then we do the square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 49, 7. Square root of 64, 8. Square root of 81, 9. Square root of 100, 10. Square root of 121, 11. Make sure you jot these down because we're going to be using them the whole day. Actually, this whole next unit. Questions so far? All right, so for the next example, we're going to do square root of 48. So if we have the square root of 48, we're going to look at this number, and we're going to see what perfect squares it's divisible by. And again, perfect squares, I'm talking about these over here in the blue. So 48 divided by 36, that's the next smallest perfect square. And is 48 divisible by 36? Put it in your calculator. Don't just tell me yes. If you're not understanding, please put it in your calculator so you know what I'm talking about. 48 divided by 36, does it give us a whole number or does it give us a decimal? It gives you a decimal. So we're going to cross it off. Then we do 48 divided by the next perfect square. What's my next perfect square? Let's go back up. We're at 36. It's 25. So let's divide that number by 25. Is 48 divisible by 25? Put it in your calculator and see if it gives you a decimal. It gives you a decimal, so it's not divisible by 25. Then we go to the next one. 48 divided by 16. Is it divisible by 16? Yes. What is 48 divided by 16? It's 3. So these are the two numbers that I'm going to put under my radical. So this is going to be square root of 16, and this is square root of 3. There should be absolutely no decimals. Then we go to our chart again. What is the square root of 16? 4. So then the square root of 16 is going to be replaced by 4. There is no square root of 3, so we're just going to bring that one down. And we end up with 4 times the square root of 3. Put your phone away, please, if you're not using it for this. Any questions? All right, let's try again. Hopefully that helped. Um, ah, hold on. This is just a different system. All right, go for it. So if 70 is not divisible by any perfect square, then square root of 70 is already simplified. So your answer would be square root of 70. We can't force simplification. Right, they're all decimals, so we can't write it as a decimal. We're going to leave it as square root of 70. So you should have gotten 6 square root of 6 for this next one. And some of you were so close. This is example 5. So we want to bring down that 2. And what was the largest perfect square? 9, right? Square root of 9 times square root of, not 3, what was it? Times square root of 6. So that square root of 9 is equal to 3. Remember, we're still multiplying. We bring down this 2, and then we bring down the square root of 6. No perfect square goes into 6, so we know that's simplified. And then we're going to multiply these two. 2 times 3 is 6, and then we get square root of 6. Oh, I see what you did. You added. You need to multiply. Always multiply. Any questions on that one? All right, the next one, and I'll put it on the pear deck, is 3 times square root of 75. So then we get 3 here. Square root of 25 is what? 5. And then we bring down that square root of 3. Then we multiply our two coefficients. And 3 times 5 is 15 times the square root of 3. Any questions on that one? If I multiply the square root of 2 times itself, that means I'm multiplying square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Which means we go 2 times 2, and what is 2 times 2? 4. And what's the square root of 4? Oh, look, we're back at 2. 2, 2, 2. So if we have the square root of 12 times the square root of 12, multiply those two, we get the square root of 144. And what's the square root of 144? 12. Do you guys see that? So any radical times itself is going to be the number inside the radical. So if you guys can go to your pear deck, we've got the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. And then we have the square root of 37 times the square root of 37. All right, so if you did the square root of 37 times the square root of 37, what does that give us? 37. So it's just the number inside the radical.